It's 1982. You're an Austrian businessman in Thailand, jet-lagged, running on fumes. Someone hands you a local energy tonic called Katring Dang. It tastes like cough syrup, but it works. And you think, what if I bring this to Europe? Every beverage consultant would say, terrible idea. The drink is medicinal, it's flat. Europeans have never heard of an energy drink, and the category doesn't even exist. You're nuts. And yet, by 2024, that idea is worth $11.7 billion in annual revenue, sells 12.7 billion cans a year, and the brand is valued at over $19 billion. And here's the thing. These numbers aren't the interesting part. The story how they got there is. Because Red Bull didn't win by making a better drink. They won by becoming something no one saw coming that you can use in today's crowded social media world to make your brand stand out. Today, we're breaking down the marketing move that made Red Bull, the problem they had, the insight, the execution, the research, and then putting all the lessons learned into a marketing playbook you can use for your brand. Deidre Machiche partnered with Thai entrepreneur Chelo Yowitila, and they each put in $500,000 and set out to build an energy drink brand. They added carbonation, dialed back the sweetness, renamed it Red Bull, and launched it in Austria in 1987. First problem? They were creating a category from nothing. No one was looking for an energy drink. The product tasted medicinal, came in a tiny 250 milliliter can, and cost 3 times more than Coke. Every rule of beverage marketing said emphasize taste, value, and refreshment. Red Bull did none of that. They positioned it as fuel for extreme performance, targeting students pulling all-nighters, late-night workers, club-goers. They did guerrilla marketing. They left empty cans at trendy clubs to manufacture the illusion of demand before demand even existed. By 1995, 8 years in, they had $85 million in European sales with fewer than 30 employees. By all accounts, success. But then came the harder problem in 1997 when they wanted to enter the U.S. market. The U.S. is the most competitive beverage market on earth. Coke and Pepsi with billion-dollar budgets, and Red Bull had a product with zero defensibility. Basically 3 ingredients: caffeine, taurine, and sugar. Any competitor could replicate the formula. Monster and Rockstar would prove that within a few years. They couldn't out-advertise Coke. They couldn't compete on price. They needed to change the game completely to be able to win. During their European expansion, Red Bull started sponsoring extreme sport, snowboarding, motocross, skate. And they noticed something. People didn't just tolerate the brand at these events, they bonded with it. The drink became associated with the adrenaline, the danger, the achievement. Then, in 1995, much of us took it further. Red Bull didn't just sponsor the Sauber Formula One team, he acquired a majority ownership stake in it. Red Bull's name was on the car, but they weren't just renting space on the hood. They were part of the team story, the whole sports story. That partnership ran for a decade, and it ended only because Red Bull was ready to do something bigger. In 2005, they bought the Jaguar racing team outright and launched Red Bull Racing. 4 Formula One World Championships followed. But here's what that decade of F1 involvement taught them. People don't buy products. They buy identities. Red Bull wasn't selling caffeine. They were selling the feeling of being unstoppable. And the bigger insight that changed everything was that instead of interrupting content people wanted to watch, they could become the content people wanted to watch. When they entered the U.S. in 1997, they invested $50 million in marketing, but not in TV ads or newspapers, but in infrastructure. And in 2007, they formalized it. Red Bull Media House. Not a marketing department, a full-scale media production company. Filmmakers, photographers, editors, journalists, all in-house. While Monster and Rockstar were buying commercial slots during sports broadcasts, Red Bull was producing the sports broadcasts. They weren't renting attention. They were building owned media. The 3 pillars of their success: 1, they own their events. Red Bull doesn't sponsor events. They create them. Red Bull Stratos, 2012. Felix Baumgartner jumps from 28,000 feet at the edge of space, breaks the sound barrier in free fall. 8 million people watch it live on YouTube. The video now has 48 million views, billions in earned media, 0 paid advertising. Red Bull Rampage, Red Bull Crushed Ice, Red Bull Air Race. These aren't sponsorships. They're Red Bull-owned intellectual media properties that generate massive audience and an endless supply of authentic content. Number 2, they are a publisher. Red Bull TV is a free streaming platform, no subscription, no fee, just high-quality extreme sports content available to anyone. Their YouTube channel has over 21 million subscribers, one of the largest brand-run channels in the world. The Red Bulletin magazine reaches 7 million readers globally. And here's what's worth noticing. Most of this content never shows the product. Nobody holds up a can. The logo appears, and people know Red Bull made it possible, but the content stands on its own. And number 3, make the content shareable. Red Bull puts 25 to 30% of annual revenue, roughly $3 billion, into content and marketing. But they budget like a media company, not an advertiser. Every piece is designed to earn its way. The brand association happens because the content is remarkable, not because Red Bull told you how to feel about them. The result? By the end of their first year in the US, Red Bull had captured 75% of the American energy drink market, not through ads, by becoming a culture people wanted to be a part of. Here's why this works psychologically. In 2016, a study titled Sport-Related Branded Entertainment, the Red Bull Phenomenon, was published in Sport Business and Management Journal. They found that when a brand creates the content rather than placing products inside someone else's, what they call value co-creation, you get significantly higher engagement, attention, and emotional connection than conventional advertising produces. The mechanism is something called customer-based brand resonance, the intensity of the psychological bond between consumer and brand. Traditional advertising talks at you. Branded entertainment invites you into an experience. When you watch a guy step off a capsule at the edge of space, you're not thinking about a drink. You're experiencing the awe, vicarious achievement. The emotional experience bonds to Red Bull because Red Bull created the moment. The researchers concluded that this approach lets Red Bull bypass advertising skepticism entirely. The content has real entertainment value independent of its commercial purpose, which is exactly why it works commercially. Your marketing moves to make this work for your brand? 1. Audit your ratio. How much of your marketing is showing up where people didn't ask for you versus creating something they'd actually seek out? Even a small shift, one genuinely useful piece of content for every 3 ads, changes how your audience relates to you over time. 2. Find something you can own. You don't need to jump from space. You can own an annual event in your community, a competition, a conference, something that becomes synonymous with your brand and generates natural content year after year. Start smaller than you think. Ownership is the point. 3. Sell the identity, not the ingredient. Red Bull never mentions milligrams of caffeine. They show people doing impossible things. What is your customer becoming when they choose you? Get crystal clear on that, along with your content, your messaging, and your positioning. That's a winning marketing strategy. Red Bull took a medicinal tonic from a Thai truck stop and built a $19 billion brand, not by making the drink better, but by understanding something most brands skip. Attention you earn beats attention you buy, every time. The drink is the souvenir, the media empire is the marketing. Your marketing move? This week, identify one piece of content your audience would actually seek out, not something that sells them, something that earns their time. One video, one article, one event. Start there. Your marketing move.